What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel for the first time. For those who do not know me, my name is Noon, and in today's video I want to talk a little bit about why I chose to go to esthetician school. So if you've been following my journey, some of you already know that I recently just left my clinical research coordinator position. I kind of already talked about this in some of my previous videos about my corporate burnout. But what happened was I had been in my role for quite some time, and I had been feeling a little burnt out, or a lot burnt out, because of just things that were going on there that really added to my plate and added to my burden of my everyday responsibilities. And so eventually, a person can only take so much, and um, I began to feel very unhappy and unsatisfied, and ultimately burnt out, to where I went from loving my job to going to um, absolutely despising it, sometimes not being able to really get up in the mornings. Like, it was really a struggle. Um, so I had been, dealing with that for quite some time, and I felt stuck in my role, in my situation, and I didn't really know what I was going to do about that. I just know that I had committed to a 3-year term. It was like a verbal commitment. So I committed to 3 years in the position, and I only did 2. So that kind of gives you a little bit of insight into how serious my burnout was, especially because I'm someone who, I like to keep my word. I like to fulfill my commitments. And so if I can do that, that's what I'm going to do. In this instance here, I could not do that. And it's probably one of the few times that that's happened in my life, where I chose not to fulfill what I said I was going to do, because it was just really weighing on me mentally and emotionally. And, if my job, the management at my job did not want to provide any support, then I feel like I'm in a place in my life where I can no longer, like, keep myself in a place where I am physically, mentally, emotionally feeling burnt out. And maybe in the past I could push my way through that. I went to college, I went to grad school. you know so I'm very used to having to push through things that are difficult, and see it through. um but where I am now in my life, i kind of I kind of just want to get to a place where I do what's in alignment with me, right? So if my body and my mind and my emotions are responding in a negative way to the job that I am doing, then that means it's not for me. And that's just kind of the conclusion that I've come to over these years of living my life. But I realized that at my core, I am truly a creative, and it feels good to be able to start to get back into my creative space, because if you're not creating, like, what are you really doing, right? Like, this world is meant for creation, and so it's always a pleasure to be able to create. But for a really long time, I didn't know what that looked like anymore. And I would say even now I'm learning what that looks like again, because it's been so long. And on top of that, I feel like my creativity was stifled early on, at an early age. So I feel like I didn't even really get to even fully come into my full creative self. So I am really looking forward to being able to do that more now that I am going into a different career path. So just to give a little background on how I found out about aesthetics and about the esthetician title, I actually looked online for different apprenticeships, which is like basically like when people are, I guess, changing careers or whatever like that, they have these apprenticeships where you can apply, learn a new skill or a trade or whatever like that, while being paid on the job to do it. Of course, you don't get paid like the big bucks, but like they're paying you to learn a new skill and they teach you everything that you need to know. And so pretty much what I found in my search were like a couple of options, but like nothing that really sparked my interest. But what I did see was like cosmetology and barbering apprenticeship. And I never was ever interested in cosmetology. I had the opportunity to get my cosmetology license if that's what I wanted to do when I was in high school, because I went to a trade school for high school. And you choose whatever shop you want to choose, and then you can learn that skill. And for people who are in cosmetology, for example, or barbering, they actually got their license at the end of it by the time they graduated. So it was never something that I was ever interested in. But I did click on it because it was something I was familiar with, and I was like, let me just see what this organization like offers. I also have family that's in the beauty industry, and so I was just, just something that was just familiar, and so I clicked on it and looked into the organization a little bit, and I saw aesthetics, and I was like, I wonder like I wonder what that is. I looked it up and I saw what, Google said that aesthetics is, and I was like, I think I want to look into this a little bit more. So that's what I did. I went onto YouTube and started binge watching videos. Like I binge watch videos. Hold on. I went onto YouTube and looked up estheticians and aesthetics, whatever the keywords were. I looked it up, and literally, y'all, I was binge watching content from around 2:30 p.m. that evening or that afternoon, all the way up until midnight that night. I literally was just immersed in esthetician content. And I'm talking all types of content, days in a life, pros and cons. I even kind of stumbled across a esthetician podcast where they were like talking to an esthetician and just getting their insight as a solo esthetician and what business is like, and just all types of stuff. And um I looked at content with people in school and stuff like that. So there was a lot of information that I had came across and that I was exposed to just in those like hours after learning about it. And so I took that Saturday, Sunday to continue like researching and doing more searches on different estheticians and their experiences and things like that. And then on June 6th, I had a tour with one of the esthetician schools that was nearby to see what it was like, to see if I liked it, to see how I would feel in that space. So yeah, by this time, y'all, I was already considering like going into it. I wasn't quite sure, but I did go through the motions of doing my research, especially doing my research on schools and the costs and things like that, going on the tour, right? So I had the tour, my first tour on June 6th, and then by June 12th, I had another tour that I had went on. So I had toured two schools in total, but June 12th was my second tour with one of the schools, and I love that tour so much. I love that school, at least from the outside looking in. When I went to visit, everything was so nice and just done up, and I even got to talk with one of the instructors at length because she was like in her classroom doing something. I guess she was cleaning up and stuff while I was on the tour. And I just sparked up a conversation with her because I'm like, okay, if I'm really considering this, and at this time I hadn't like made a full decision yet on if I would go into it or not, but I'm saying like, if I'm going to be considering doing this, I want to, be able to talk to this instructor and see like what it's like, see what her energy is like, see, you know what I mean? Like just really get a feel for it as if I'm already doing it. And so that's what I did. And I really enjoyed that particular school. So I decided to go with the second school, even though it was a little bit more expensive, but I thought it was the best fit for me, just given location, the school itself, right? Like the prestige and the credibility of that particular school. And just like, again, with the conversation that I had with the instructor, the things that she was saying that they teach, and just her demeanor in itself, her demeanor made me think, okay, like this seems like a teacher or an instructor that would truly care about my well-being as a student and that would really want to see me succeed. And so yeah, overall, it was just a good feeling. And so that's why I decided to go with the school that I went to. The first school that I toured, it wasn't bad, but it was, you could tell it was very outdated. The representative was pretty nice and personable, so I didn't have any issues there. But I did not get to talk to the instructor there. I did see the instructor, and she didn't really spark up a conversation or anything. And she was a little bit older, so I don't take anything from that. But I'm just saying, the experience that I had at the second school just left a better impression on me, and so that's the decision that I made to go with that school instead because of how I felt initially, like just showing up there and being able to see myself as a student in that environment. But yeah, so June 12th I had that tour, and then on June 29th, which is, I think that was a Monday, that's when I officially told my manager that I was going to be resigning from my position. And of course, by then I had, already made up my mind that I would be taking the esthetician route. At this point in time, I did not know when exactly I would start. The timeline for that was not yet decided, but I figured that out over time. But that is a little background and context to how I found out about aesthetics and what led me on that path, in the timeline regarding all of that. So now I want to jump into the reasons why I decided to go to esthetician school, like what made me feel like this would be the next path for me to take. So I was thinking about the type of lifestyle that I wanted to create for myself. And I realized that being in spaces like I was in at work was not the best fit for me, right? Because it was rigid, which was then draining me of my energy. And then there was no room for creativity or expression or, even to show your personality in the workspace. I felt like it was very uptight, and there's no time to really be yourself. Like even when you try to talk to people, it's like you'll get something sometimes, but it's always short-lived and surface level, right? Because we're small talking, we're at work, we don't really have time to really get to know the individual, even though they have so much more to them than what they're like doing at the job. You know what I mean? Like it's just the way that they had things structured where I was at. We didn't really have the opportunity to really showcase who we were as individuals or our personalities, and I just really didn't like that. And even when you're trying to be personable with people in the workplace, it's really hard to do. Like I said, because you're focusing on work most of the time. That's literally what your communication is built off of, the work that you're doing together as a team. And so it can be hard to break through those barriers. When I was doing my research on aesthetics in that field, I was drawn to how you work one-on-one with your clients, and how that leaves room to build meaningful connections over time, especially if they are repeat clients and they continue to come back to you for years and years. I really like the idea of that because I don't want to just have small talk conversation with people. I want to have meaningful conversations. And I know that you don't have certain conversations with all people, but the potential to build meaningful relationships increase when you're in the beauty industry, where you're working with a lot of people, you're helping to build their confidence, helping to make them feel beautiful. So I loved all of that. And I have family that have been in the beauty industry for years, like their whole career. And I've seen how they have, created meaningful relationships over time with their clients. And so that just gave me an understanding or an idea of what that could look like potentially for me if I chose to go into the beauty industry. I'm looking forward to that. I think that's meaningful work. That's, it becomes collaborative in a sense. It's not just transactional. And so I really like that aspect of being an esthetician from what I saw in my research. Another thing that, made me interested in going to esthetician school to become an esthetician is the flexible work schedule, right? So as an esthetician, you can either work for someone, you can go into a corporate space, and work for someone in like a spa or a salon, or you can become a solo esthetician where you are your own business owner and you create your own hours and things of that nature. I feel like even in like the corporate space, you may only have to do, your hours as it pertains to like whatever appointments you have. I mean, every business structure is different, so um I guess it depends on where you work, but regardless, my point is there's a lot of flexibility to what your business model could look like as an esthetician. And so I like that freedom. I feel like within my research, it just led me to believe as an esthetician, you'll have a lot more flexibility than working just a straight 9 to 5. Yes, the hours may vary and I may have to work on weekends, but again, like the time's going to pass. If it's something that's enjoyable to me, and something that is flexible, then I'm open to working whenever time that I have to work, as long as it fits within my schedule and also around some of the things that I want to do in my personal life. Another reason why I wanted to go to esthetician school is because in my research, I learned how much anatomy, physiology, chemistry, or just science in general, how much science goes into becoming an esthetician. Like in the program, it's very science heavy. And so I was excited about that because my background is in science. Like, I'm coming from clinical research, and in my degrees, they are science degrees. And so not only do I have a background in science, but also because it's the beauty industry, there's way more opportunities to be creative. And I'm like, I think this is exactly what I need. So, yeah, basically, it satisfied my natural draw towards health and science. But then it also gave room for more creation, relationships, personality, and flexibility, like just holistically. Another thing that stood out to me in my research that made me think esthetician school would be a good idea for me is that the aesthetics environment is slower pace than what I'm used to. And so I was in a very fast paced environment. Everything is urgent all the time. Urgent, urgent, urgent. Go, 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 go. And you don't get a break. So I really like that the aesthetic space is slow paced. I can create a relaxing, calm environment for my client that I'm providing services for. And while the environment is for them, I too will be able to directly benefit from that environment. As they're receiving their treatment, I am working in a calm environment, and that helps me to be able to focus and do my thing and connect with the client. So I thought that was something that was definitely intriguing to me, and something that I wanted for myself in my workspace, especially after experiencing the burnout that I've experienced. I definitely feel like a slower paced work environment is definitely something that I need. Also, another thing that I thought about is, of course, going to esthetician school, you're going to learn information to become licensed. And so for me, I thought, okay, great. If I can learn a new skill and become licensed for it, then I will have a license that can make me money. So at any given point, I'm able to provide a service for money. Whereas, like now, all I have are my academic degrees. And there's literally nothing I can do right now to make money with those degrees unless I find another employer, right? And so I like the idea of having a license, because when I pass the boards and get licensed, that license is mine. And so I don't have to wait on an employer to make money. I can make money on my own as long as I'm, um, advertising and, just getting the word out there. I can even do it on the side if I wanted to. But I did like that idea that I would have something that is my own, that I can do something with, and that nobody can really, block my ability to make money or anything like that, because it's a service that I'm providing and I get to call the shots with that. But yeah, so I liked the idea that I can have a license to call my own, and it's something that can help put me on that path to start creating multiple streams of income, which is something that I want to have for myself eventually with time. And so becoming licensed as an esthetician is a start to doing that. So yeah, I would just say all the things that I just talked about are reasons for why I decided to go to esthetician school. After doing my research, it just made sense that this field seems to be more in alignment with the type of life that I want to have and create for myself in the long term than what I was previously doing. And of course, I'm not saying that, this is my end all be all career. I don't know. I'm not going to really know anything until I really get started on that journey. Once I'm in school, learning the information, having to take clients and all of those things, I won't fully know. But I saw enough to where it excited me. It gave me a new sense of direction, new hope. You know what I mean? Because I really felt hopeless in my old job just with how things had been going for so long. So, me coming across aesthetics and learning more about it and seeing people's experiences, it just gave me hope that my future could look bright as well. Whether I do aesthetics long term or not long term, I do believe and hope that, this next step into esthetician school and everything that comes after is, just paving the way for me to, get to where I'm ultimately supposed to end up in this life. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and share some of those things with you. I have about 3 more weeks, I think, before I start my esthetician program. I'm really excited to see if my reasons for going to esthetician school hold up and if it's what I expected. But either way, I'm excited to try something new. I'm excited to get my license for something new, to learn a new skill, just all the new things. I am for it because I realize that the more I can take in, the more I can learn about myself, and the more I can begin to create the life for myself that I want to have. No longer will I allow other people to tell me how to live my life or what I should do. I am at a place in my life where I am so comfortable making my own decisions and trying out new things and seeing what sticks. It's like, why couldn't I be here sooner? But I know we all like have our own journeys to go through. We all come from, different backgrounds that affect us in certain ways. And so I'm truly content and happy with where I am now. And it's really like I'm starting my life over. So I really don't know what to fully expect or, what to think, but I am excited for what's to come. And I already feel myself kind of getting more into my creative spirit and just thinking about all the ways that I can, make a living for myself and things that I can do once I'm licensed, or like even beyond the esthetician work, just, trying to build my own brand and just something that I can be proud of, something that I can call my own, and something that pays me to show up authentically to who I am and to who I'm becoming. But yeah, so I just wanted to come on and share why I decided to go to esthetician school. I know some folks might have been curious about that, what led me to go from my clinical research coordinator position to esthetician school, which is completely different. I mean, we're going from healthcare to the beauty industry. So, I mean, but yeah, I just wanted to come on and share that. And I hope it inspires someone. I hope that it answers some questions that people might have had as it pertains to my journey. I would love to hear from you all. So feel free to leave comments. Let me know what you're up to. If you're on your own journey right now, if you are in the midst of a career change, I would love to learn from you. I would love to hear what you got going on. And feel free to subscribe if you are interested in following my journey and just learning more about me. And I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.